Hello everyone and welcome back to FlutterCon EU 25. I'm here with another interview with Christoph.
Hi, I'm Christoph. I'm currently working for Materna Information Communications SE. I'm a lead Flutter developer there. I'm the technical lead for one project, and I maintain some internal projects there, packages there. And I'm here at FlutterCon. I already was the co-host of a roundtable about what makes a good Flutter package and what even makes a really good Flutter package.
Looking at your bio and your history a bit, stalking you a little bit if you like, you have quite an interesting background. You sort of started as a native Android and an iOS developer. What kind of drew you towards Flutter?
Well, honestly, it was the switch to a new company.
Fair.
Yeah, so I was developing Android and iOS apps simultaneously, so for both platforms, one solution. When I switched to a new company, I was kind of forced into Flutter. So they told me they were doing this, and I was like, yeah, fine, just let me learn it. So I then started with Flutter, and I was immediately hooked by the hot reload feature. It's such a nice thing when you're coming from native, not to have to completely recompile your application just for adding some text or something silly. As I was working with Flutter, I noticed more things I really liked about it, and the transition was quite smooth, I think, as the documentation, I think, is really good. There are some educational guesses I could just make with experience, and all other things just I read from the documentation or asked a colleague that had the experience with it. And I think it also helped that I was doing Swift UI back then, quite a lot of Swift UI, and there are some similarities that really quite help when switching from native iOS to Flutter.
Sometimes these transitions are forced upon us. It's not necessarily a personal choice.
But it's not bad.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out well, and you weren't forced to use something like Cordova or PhoneGap or something much more painful. Sorry, but it's true. You obviously have a solid native platform background. Kind of, how do you think that kind of influences how you build in Flutter?
I really try to keep the roots of native. Mostly comes down to the look and feel of the app. I think there are a lot of differences between mostly Android and iOS. They behave differently in some ways. There are some common parts, quite a lot of common parts, but there are some key differences, like, for example, the navigation bar. It totally looks different on Android versus iOS, and it also behaves differently. And as the users, they use their platform. They are not using a combination of both, so I really try to keep the native look and feel, and we have developed some widgets that automatically switch between the both designs, and I try to keep the look and feel that way. Additionally, I like to use features that sometimes are not available on both platforms. For example, the tactile engine on iOS, I think it's a really good thing to improve the usability with haptic feedback, as it's something that only iOS does. Android, you have some vibrating motors there as well, but they're not that versatile than the iOS tactile engine, and I like to use such features.
I think that's the important thing to kind of keep in consideration when you're building multi-platform, is that whatever user is using your app, they don't care that it's multi-platform. They care that they're using an iPhone or and they want it to be an iOS app and look like an iOS app. And certainly in the early days, you could really tell when apps had been kind of shoehorned into multi-platform.
Yeah, that's one thing I first thought of, oh no, don't get into multi-platform. They don't look the same. You like the native look and feel, but no, it changed.
Yeah.
Really changed.
That's good, and I think that was a big kind of breaking point really for multi-platform to make that happen. So, like you mentioned, you were doing a roundtable on what makes a good Flutter package and what makes a great Flutter package. What's kind of the differentiating factor there between the two?
It's not one factor. You have multiple factors that all come into account for this difference. First, let's start with the API design. The API design is very crucial. You want a package that is versatile, that can do a lot of things. The developers can choose how maybe a widget looks or how it behaves. And on the other hand, you want to design the API in a way that it is easy to use even for beginners. And you kind of have to find a way to do just that. Then if you have a good API, you also need a good documentation. So you need to write some documents that go with your package. You want to have it simple to read,
Yep.
greatly structured. It also starts with the README. The README has to be structured well.
Yeah.
And there have to be all important factors in there. If you have some special cases, write it down. It's important for the developers that they can look it up somewhere. They need to be able to find all these special cases and how they need to account for them. What else? Tests. Everyone's favorite topic, but they're really important. The developers that trust you, they want to trust you, and if you have tests that, in the best case, have 100% code coverage, you will most likely not be able to get 100%. But the closer you get to that goal, the more trust you'll get from the developers, as they can be somewhat sure that if an update comes from you, that the functionality that was there still works.
You kind of touched on the documentation side of things, and I think I've been a developer advocate for many years. One of my passions has been documentation and making sure that it is up to scratch, if you like. What are kind of some of the suggestions or processes that you think developers can use to improve their documentation and make sure that it is good?
I think that's really difficult to get it spot on. But there's some, I guess, principles you can follow to get as closely as possible. I first start with the linter. So you can configure the linter to point you when you have forgotten any documentation. So I really like every public API should be documented.
Yeah.
Everything that the developers touch, you may want to document more than that.
Sure.
But that's the absolute minimum that needs to be documented, and the linter can help you with that. But it will only assure that there is some documentation. It will not tell you if it's good or bad or if you need to add something. That's up to you, and you can use AI to help with that, but it's in the end your perspective. You need to be sure that everything is in there, not the AI. Sometimes it can really help, but it can't tell you if it's perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I really try to think of some scenarios there. Don't think as the package developer, think of a developer when you're adopting the package.
Yeah.
What scenarios are you in when you're trying to adopt it? What questions might you have there? What are some special cases you need to be aware of when adopting it? And you should be able to answer all of these questions you get just by your documentation. You, as the developer of the package, will have more knowledge about the package than someone that is just has just discovered your package.
Of course, yeah.
And you need to read your documentation, and you need to be able to answer your questions you said earlier.
Maintaining a package is no small task. It's definitely quite a lot of kind of overhead. What's some of the biggest challenges that you've faced as a package maintainer?
Most recently, we developed in our whole team developed a micro app architecture that
Okay.
totally depends on multiple packages, and these packages are also dependent on each other. So it's really a complicated structure, and they're all internal packages. And with it being internal packages, we can't just publish them on pub.dev. It's just not possible
Yep.
due to company compliance.
Yeah, of course.
And at the moment, we were using Git references to, kind of fetch the packages from pub-get.
Yeah.
And we really noticed that isn't cutting the edge. We're getting troubles. We needed to update the packages in specific orders to get all the references, as they may not have been there.
Yeah.
And at that point, we then actually decided to develop our own pub.dev variant.
Okay. Yeah.
We had a look at the documentation, which really was great.
Yeah.
And it's not actually that complicated. If you're in that situation, you totally can do it. It's primarily one endpoint you had to implement, and then it works.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that was really a great challenge for us to get it to work.
Yeah.
And now we have quite a good package management, and that we can use for many days in the future. And I really like that challenge.
On the kind of public open source side of package management, obviously, if you're managing something that's open source, you want community involvement. You want people to submit PRs and submit bugs and all those sorts of things. How do you kind of manage that influx of contributions in a kind of structured way?
I guess you really need to enable the people to do so, and I think that isn't just an open source thing, it's also a company thing. If you hire new employees, they don't know how to do that. They don't know your practices. And I think it really translates to open source as well. So try to enable everyone to be able to contribute, provide guidelines on how to do that, and what are the do's, what are the don'ts, and come up with a solution to bring this knowledge to them, either through README files or additional files and documentations. You can use some templates for merge requests and so on. There are many, many good ways on doing so, and you just need to make sure you can work with them as well.
Yes, sure.
You have done the PRs of them, and you have to work on approving them or telling what they need to do better. And if you can tell them in the beginning what you want for your package, then you have less work in the end when reviewing the merge requests.
But we've talked about how to make a great package, the important factors that come into that. But for you personally, what builds trust in a third-party package? If you're looking for a new package for something, how do you decide which one you're going to trust?
You search for them, you got some different options, and most of the time the first impression is really important for me.
Sure.
So I will have a look at the page on pub.dev, which is your README.
Yeah.
And if the README is not structured well, I don't like that. I want to be able to read the README and know exactly what the package can do, what it can't do, what are some common issues with it. I want an overview, a structured overview of what this package does.
Yep.
And that's the first point. The second point, I then have a glance at the points, the pub points, and if it is a verified publisher. Also, of course, the license is important as well. So keep in mind when choosing a license, it may influence your adoption more than you think.
Sure.
And then if all these points check out, I have a good feeling about it, then I might just try it.
Yeah.
I try it out, and alongside when I try it out, I just have a look at the documentation of the parts I want, and then it may feel good or it may feel bad. Now then it depends a bit of what this package does. Is it some, I guess, small UI feature, or is it a crucial part of the application? If it's crucial, I then really have a look at the code, not the entirety of the code.
Sure.
I just pick a few random files, have a look at them, and see if anything catches my eye. And if it's fine, then it's fine. Then it just works. And then I trust the package. And that's basically the process I'm doing most.
Some very good tips on trying to pick out the right packages. I think there's a lot of packages out there, and it can be a very important thing to get right. Otherwise, further down your project, you can really get bit by something bad, and it could be a problem. So, no, that's good advice. So, for anyone that's kind of listening to this, who's really interested in starting out as a package maintainer, they want to write their first package that they're going to publish. What's some advice that you have for those sorts of people?
I think the most important thing is don't be scared. You don't have to. It's no witchcraft. Everyone can do it. But if you're really starting out, not just think about it, write down what are the key features of your package. What do you want to achieve? When you have that, have a think about the API design, about the architecture, what fits best for your desired features.
Yeah.
Then you can start programming. Just go with the flow and keep in mind that you don't get carried away with some additional features that might not be necessary.
Yeah.
You can add them. Just get a solid base first, and then you can publish a second version of it with new features. And just don't get carried away. Try it out. Don't be scared. You can do it.
That's always the danger with any software development project is feature creep, and is going, I could just add that. And then your project is 3 times as large as you originally planned it to be.
Yeah, ideas are great. Just write them down on a notepad, a piece of paper, whatever you like to do. You can use some tools like Jira or anything else. Just keep track of them. Don't lose your ideas. That's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But keep them.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very, very much. I think this has been a really great little chat, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.